Welcome to the Traveller's Cyber Academy, a video series on cybersecurity and cyber risk management. We designed it to inform brokers on emerging cyber trends, risks, and threat prevention techniques, and also to excite them about the possibilities. Our topic for today: ransomware. The use of ransomware is an increasingly prevalent form of cybercrime. As you probably know, ransomware locks or encrypts the files on a computer, or even the computer itself. In order to regain access to their files, the owner must pay a ransom, often using the electronic currency Bitcoin. In this session of the Traveller's Cyber Academy, we'll look at how ransomware works and how it spreads. We'll hear from Kurt Oestreicher, a director of digital forensics at Traveller's, who was part of the team that examined the notorious CryptoLocker ransomware. We'll also explain more about Bitcoin. Ransomware became much more common after the advent of Bitcoin, which provides an easy and anonymous way for criminals to obtain payment from victims. When a business is infected with ransomware, the consequences often go beyond simply paying a ransom. Christine Mapes is a senior claims specialist at Traveller's who has handled numerous ransomware claims. She will describe the actual consequences when a business's computers are infected. Finally, we'll cover the important steps that a business can take to protect itself. Demanding ransom for the safe return of a person or thing has been going on for a long time. Julius Caesar, for example, was ransomed after he was captured by pirates in the Mediterranean. In the digital world, ransomware started out as a con. Banners would be displayed on a victim's computer stating that it had been infected with spyware or other malicious software. The victim was asked to pay money to remove the spyware or to install antivirus software, but the victim's computer and computer files remained unharmed. In 2012, a form of ransomware known as Reverton gained notoriety when it locked victims out of their computer systems. Reverton displayed a banner customized for different countries, stating that the victim had been caught by the police while committing a crime, such as viewing child pornography. The victim was instructed to pay a fine of several £100s to unlock the computer. Although the computer was in fact locked, there were ways to bypass Reverton and access the files without too much difficulty. In 2013, the infamous ransomware known as CryptoLocker appeared. CryptoLocker was a game changer in two ways. First, it encrypted the files on each victim's computer, so that even a trained forensic examiner could not recover data from the hard drive without paying for the decryption key. Second, CryptoLocker required that payment of the ransom be made through anonymous methods such as Bitcoin. Ransomware also began appearing on mobile phones and devices. At first, it simply locked the user out, but soon it was able to encrypt the contents of each infected phone or device. CryptoLocker's success spurred the development of many new ransomware variants, such as TorrentLocker, AlphaCrypt, CryptoWall, TeslaCrypt, Locky, and others. Modern ransomware is designed to maximize the consequences to the victim and force payment of a ransom. Some ransomware is even designed to steal from the Bitcoin wallet used to pay the ransom. In 2013, Traveller's began receiving a number of claims related to CryptoLocker. Its investigation of CryptoLocker was led by Kurt Oestreicher, who is now a director of digital forensics.
Welcome to the Traveller's Digital Forensics Lab. The lab was designed with the intention of being able to process the digital evidence that comes into Traveller's in the form of our claim investigations, internal matters, and also looking at the general cybersecurity threats that are out there. Some of the forms of digital evidence that we see here at Traveller's comes in the form of cell phones, hard drives, computer systems themselves, social media, the emerging Internet of Things, video, and the greater cyber threats to both Traveller's and to our customers. One of the core components of the Digital Forensics Lab is the malware firing range. The malware firing range is an isolated network and set of computers and servers that allow us to do advanced malware research in support of cyber threats. That allows us to take a deeper dive and really see what a particular strain of malware is doing. How is it infecting a system? What is it doing once it's on the system? What types of data are being exfiltrated and passed on to the attacker? Ransomware is a form of malware that infects the system and then immediately looks to try to encrypt the critical contents on a user's hard drive. Once the encryption is complete, the user is typically presented with a splash screen on their desktop that demands some form of ransom, typically in some form of virtual currency such as Bitcoin. In 2013, we saw CryptoLocker, a form of ransomware, emerge on the scene, and we recognized right away that this was a new and emerging threat, and it was just going to be the beginning of multiple strains of ransomware that would soon follow. So we took a real close look at CryptoLocker to find out how did it infect the systems, what did it do to the systems itself, did it destroy any of the hardware, was it simply a software layer where it was encrypting files, was any data being exfiltrated, and so on. And that was really important to us for our claims investigations and also to pass on to educate our customers on what is the best way to respond to a CryptoLocker infection. Astonishing Furniture is a fictitious website that we developed in-house here at Trailers in order to provide a means to better educate our customers on some of the greater cyber risks. Today we're going to take a look at how an attacker will use a vulnerability in the Astonishing Furniture's ad network to pass the ransomware through Astonishing Furniture and onto their victim through what's known as a watering hole attack. Let's take a closer look.
One way ransomware spreads is through the poisoning of internet affiliate advertising networks. This is a fictitious website for a firm called Astonishing Furniture. Like many retailers, Astonishing Furniture displays advertisements on its website. They wouldn't create these ads, but would instead be paid a fee to allow an affiliate network to place them there. These ads were expected to be, and usually were, legitimate. Cybercriminals were able to infiltrate the affiliate network and place a malicious ad. As a result, visitors to the Astonishing Furniture website were infected by the ad, even though the computers and web server of Astonishing Furniture had not been compromised. In fact, visitors were infected without even clicking on the malicious ad. This kind of attack is sometimes described as a watering hole attack because visitors to the website are caught like prey coming to a watering hole. Generally, the victims of a watering hole attack are not immediately infected with ransomware. Instead, they are infected with malicious software that makes them part of a botnet, along with thousands of other similarly compromised computers. Once in the botnet, they are effectively under the control of a single criminal or group known as the botmaster or bot herder. The botmaster obtains direct access to the computers in the botnet by using a remote access Trojan or RAT. They can then use the botnet to send spam or to conduct denial of service attacks. Eventually, the botmaster can install ransomware on any or all of the computers in the botnet. CryptoLocker, for example, was often distributed through the Game Over Zeus botnet. Ransomware is one of the easiest ways for cybercriminals to get cash from a compromised computer. Unlike credit card fraud, there is no need to make a counterfeit card and withdraw money from an ATM, or to deal with other criminals by trafficking stolen payment information. On average, 4,000 ransomware attacks occurred per day in 2016, according to a report from the FBI. What's more, attacks on businesses are also happening more frequently. Between January and September 2016, ransomware attacks on businesses increased from once every 2 minutes to once every 40 seconds, according to Kaspersky. What happens when ransomware is installed on a computer? Here is a mock screenshot of a victim's computer showing what would happen if the computer was infected by the Locky ransomware. The files would be encrypted and the file names changed, leaving behind nothing but gibberish. The instructions for recovering the encrypted files are provided in lockyinstructions.txt, which instructs the victim to access the dark web in order to obtain a private key and a decryption program. More information about the dark web is provided in the Travelers Cyber Academy The Dark Side of the Internet video. Upon accessing the specified site on the dark web, the victim would be instructed to create a Bitcoin wallet and to make a payment by Bitcoin in order to obtain the Locky decryptor. So, what is Bitcoin, and why is it the payment method of choice for modern cyber criminals? Bitcoin is a method of electronic payment devised by an unknown individual in 2009. Unlike US dollars and other familiar currencies, Bitcoin is not backed by any government. It's an entirely peer-to-peer payment method. We'll examine what that means shortly. In order to use Bitcoins, businesses or individuals create digital wallets. These are used to store Bitcoins and track Bitcoin transactions, which can be conducted anonymously through the use of digital signatures. By enabling anonymous financial transactions beyond government oversight, Bitcoin has become the payment method of choice for criminals conducting ransomware attacks. For the most part, Bitcoin is obtained through online sites known as Bitcoin exchanges, where they are bought and sold like any other commodity. Like other commodities, the value of a Bitcoin fluctuates over time, as this graph shows. On the 5th of February 2018, one Bitcoin was worth approximately £5,000. If there is no central bank issuing Bitcoin, where does it come from? In short, new Bitcoins are issued according to the peer-to-peer protocol that was established when the currency was first created in 2009. The protocol specifies that every single Bitcoin transaction conducted since 2009 is stored in a shared public record known as the Bitcoin blockchain. A simple transaction might involve somebody using digital signature A making a payment of one Bitcoin to somebody using digital signature B. Groups of Bitcoin transactions are then combined into a single block, and the block is linked to the prior block by including a digital fingerprint of the earlier block. The entire process connects every Bitcoin transaction to every other Bitcoin transaction ever conducted, so that Bitcoins cannot be forged, counterfeited, or spent more than once in a single transaction. The process of packaging and encoding each block of transactions is time-consuming and computationally intensive. Because of this, the Bitcoin protocol awards a defined number of Bitcoins to each individual or group of individuals that successfully adds a new block of transactions to the blockchain. This process, known as Bitcoin mining, is how new Bitcoin is created. Understanding how the ransom is paid, however, is often the easy question. The harder question, for any business without an adequate response and recovery plan, may be to decide whether the ransom should be paid. Many authorities have identified serious risks that should be considered before paying a ransom. For a start, criminals may not actually provide a way to recover the lost files, and payment of the ransom may cause the business to be targeted again in the future. What's more, ransom payments fund and encourage illegal activity. The decision whether to pay the ransom should only be made after consulting with an experienced attorney, such as a breach coach who can be made available by the victim's insurance company. As a specialist in cyber claims at Travellers, Christine Mapes knows very well that there can be other consequences for a business infected with ransomware, beyond paying the ransom demand.
At Travellers, we've seen ransomware claims more than double in 2016. The first question that they ask is, what should I do? Should I pay the ransom, or should I restore from backups or find some other means of getting our data back? And they're also concerned about making sure that their operations are back up and running in a timely manner. They also want to know what they can do to prevent this incident from happening again. Given that ransomware is arguably the most profitable malware on the market, I think that it will continue to become more sophisticated and widespread. I think because it's so profitable, the attackers are going to find new methods of entry through backdoors and system vulnerabilities that are going to make the ransomware harder to detect and therefore more profitable and lucrative for the attackers. They do not discriminate, so they can hit organizations, both large and small, as well as individual users. Many times the breach isn't limited to just extortion, and depending on the type of ransomware attack, an additional forensic investigation may be necessary to determine whether or not there was access or unauthorized access to identity information. Our claims response team here at Travellers assists our insureds every step of the way. We partner with our experts and resources to provide them with an appropriate and immediate incident response plan and work towards a fast resolution.
In its current state, ransomware is a commodity malware threat. Hackers are indiscriminately going after everyone they can, hoping to catch victims off guard and with no effective backup strategies. As we look to the future, targeted ransomware could become even scarier. If hackers could successfully breach a sensitive environment, such as a large hospital, a key e-commerce system, or even critical government information, it could lead to highly expensive ransom demands being made and paid. Fortunately, there are several steps a business can take to protect itself and avoid becoming a target for ransomware. It begins with an effective data backup strategy, which should include offline and off-site data redundancy and must be current and well tested. Organisations have a variety of sensitive data. The most sensitive information, the data that is critical to operations, should be isolated from less business-critical sections of the network and guarded more securely. A business continuity plan should be in place and frequently tested. Employee education programs should be developed to make users aware of phishing and malware and make it easier for employees to know who to call when they suspect an anomaly on their network. Finally, every business should prepare an incident response plan to deal with potential compromises. And should a breach happen, they need to have proper insurance in place. We hope you enjoyed this session of the Travelers Cyber Academy on ransomware attacks and that you now realise how important it is for your business to be prepared.